idea of giving up is so common. I mean, that's why we have New Year's resolutions in all of the magazines and should I just date myself? All over the internet. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm in a different location now. I'm cat sitting for some friends that are out of town. So it is their two cats, my cat, and our dog. So four animals. It's a lot. It's it's the zoo that I always dreamed of as a child, and now I'm realizing why my parents wouldn't let it happen. But it's fun, breaking up fights, literal cat fights. But anyway, today I have another template for you guys, another video. I wanted to talk about just generally keeping your chin up. I know we're in Q2. What quarter of the year are we in? Anyway, we're a few, almost, I guess, halfway through this year. So if you're struggling to achieve the goals that you set at the beginning of the year, it's totally normal. I think we're all sort of hitting a slump right now. I guess I definitely am. I don't know if you are, but if you are, that's why I wanted to make this video because I've definitely been going through a deep, deep slump. If you noticed, I didn't record a video last week. I'm just struggling to have any energy to do anything right now, let alone my goals that I set and I'm trying to achieve, every day. So if you're just tired and you're really struggling, you're trying to remember why you even made these goals, why you're doing this to yourself, that's why I wanted to make this video today. And the corresponding template, of course. One of the cats. I'll link the template down below. I'll also show it here occasionally. Maybe here now that the cat's moved. But anyway, this template is called Keep Your Chin Up, so I just wanted to quickly walk through it with you guys, and hopefully it's some encouragement for you all to be more gentle with yourself. Obviously, be kind to yourself. It's my little tagline. Always be kind to yourself. It's something that I've been really struggling with lately, and just feeling like I'm not doing enough, I'm not pushing enough. And of course, I'm telling my therapist this, and she goes, I think you need to rest. Which is when you're building goals and trying to achieve them is literally the worst advice. It's the last thing you want to hear is like, take a pause, just relax. But I do think it's something that I really needed to hear. I think it's something that has sort of been forced onto me by the universe to force myself to rest, especially being here at this house. It's not my typical routine. I'm so thrown off. I just have a totally different routine and lifestyle here while I'm staying and cat sitting for my friends. So it's hard. It's hard to maintain that momentum that we all felt at the beginning of the year. So keeping in line with that, what you can do while you are resting is work on this template. So I wrote little directions in the template itself if you want to go ahead and download it. I'll also link all of my past templates below. If you're just watching this the first time, welcome. You can access all of my free templates on my website, but I'll link that down below. You can do it yourself. But basically, this template is just for you to take a step back. Take a step back from where you are right now, reevaluate, look at your life, remember why you wanted to accomplish these goals in the first place. So the first prompt is, I'm struggling to believe that I can achieve my dream of. And this is where you're going to write down your goal. If you have more than one goal, feel free to multiply this template, use it as much as you want, or as always, just use these questions and write the answers down in a journal. But if there's one specific goal that you are really extra struggling with, that's probably the one you want to focus on. So here you just want to clearly write out your goal, state it, write it down on paper or on your phone, I guess, but make it visual. Write down exactly what you want to do, and that will just help manifest it even more and just kind of cement it in your mind. The next prompt is, I want to achieve this goal because, and here is where you go back to your why. I have a whole video on finding your why. I'll link that down below as well. But that's the most important place, right? You came up with this goal for a reason. You had these dreams for a reason. And I think when we start to struggle with achieving our goals or keeping motivation up with our goals, it's because we start to lose a little bit of steam. We kind of forget why we wanted to achieve this goal in the first place. Or even if you do remember, it's just, less impactful than it was at the beginning of the year or whenever you created this goal. So you want to bring it back to your why, your original why you wanted to achieve this goal. And again, just writing it down, getting it out of yourself, out of your mind, and into something a bit more tangible, I think really just helps cement that why you wanted to do this in the first place. And then we switch it up a little bit and take the focus off your goal. And the next prompt is the things in my life that make me happiest are. This goes into like the rest aspect of the whole exercise, but what in your life is bringing you happiness and joy right now? And for me, that's definitely the animals, my partner, living in this city. I love my house. It's spring. Spring is really bringing me a lot of joy. I just love seeing the grass come back. Everything's green and flourishing, and the flowers are getting really bright. And it just brings me so much joy being in nature. So those would be the things that I would write down here. Just very small, it can even be your morning cup of coffee. What is bringing you joy every day in your day-to-day life, having nothing to do with your goal? The next prompt is in a similar vein where you write down the things that you're grateful for. Friends, family, a community, having a place to live, anything, having a job right now, anything in your life that you're just generally really grateful to have. And the reason I added these two questions is, again, to take that step back. Sometimes we get too hyper focused on just achieving our goal, and we put so much pressure on ourselves that we end up feeling like failures when we're not making any sort of progress towards this goal. So these couple questions are just to take the focus off of that pressure for a little bit. Remember that there are things in your life that you love and cherish, and these are often, I think, the reasons why we come up with these goals to begin with, right? Like, I know I have a lot of goals centered around making my life better and more open. And that is entirely because I want to create a better life for my cat, for my family, for my future, and these things around me. I know when I feel better and I've achieved my goals, it helps me encourage others to achieve theirs and to just make the world a more positive place. So it's important to remember that there are aspects of your life that are going really well and that you're really grateful for, because those are actually the things that keep you going even when you're struggling. And those are the things that you can turn to when you're struggling. And when you do need a break and a rest, those are the things that you want to turn to. Because if you just kind of burrow yourself away and you're feeling really down about not achieving your goals or not making any progress, or you're feeling like a failure, I feel like it can sometimes be very lonely. It can sometimes silo you away from the rest of your life. And I know when I get in my darkest states, I totally do that. I close off to everyone and everything. And, you know, my partner will have to come get me and be like, hey, you have to leave the house today. Let's go to the park. Let's take the dog out. Let's do literally anything. Just get out of the house, because I just won't. I burrow into myself and just focus on being miserable, I guess. It sounds so silly, but if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's just really hard to get out of being surrounded by the misery. And so with these questions, it reminds you that it's not all misery. It's not just about how you're feeling right now in correlation to your goals and your dreams and not making progress right now, but there are still things in your life that bring you beauty and joy and things that remind you of why you want to make a better life for yourself. And so I think these two questions are just so, so important. And thinking of these two questions, meditating on them, is truly what has gotten me out of this sort of deep, dark hole that I burrowed into while I was feeling really down on myself in various times in my life, because it's a loop. And as everyone says, growth is not linear, progress is not linear. There will be these huge, very steep inclines of progress, and you're just on fire, and you're feeling really good, but a dip might follow after that. And whether it's like a little mini dip and then you get right back up, but sometimes they're deeper dips. And that's just life. And so the purpose of this template, the purpose of my whole channel is to really just help with those dips and to just keep the motivation up, keep your chin up, as I call this template. Keep your chin up and just remember that those dips are natural and you will bounce back from it as long as you keep the faith and remember why you're doing this. And then one day you're just going to be like, all right, yeah, let's get back to it. I promise that'll happen. Just don't keep burrowing down, for using that chart metaphor. Don't keep sloping down. Don't burrow farther down. I know it's very easy to do, and not that it's tempting, but the idea of giving up is so common. I mean, that's why we have New Year's resolutions in all of the magazines and should I just date myself? All over the internet, where start your New Year's resolution here, because people started it last year and probably the year before and lost all motivation and just stopped. They gave up because giving up is very much the easier choice. And I'm not saying that in any sort of like derogatory sense. I've thought about giving up literally today on doing so many of my goals. It's easy and it's simpler and it feels smoother than trying to dig yourself out of these dark spots and these steep declines that we all get into every once in a while. It's easy when you get to that dark spot to just not want to try anymore. It's really hard and I totally get that. But again, that's why I wanted to make this template for you all. But anyway, back to the template. The last prompt here is my new daily mantra will be, and then page 2, which I'll show you here, is just a list of some of my favorite mantras. So from this list, I hope you can find one that resonates with you. And my goal here was just to create something where you can just take a quick look and just pick whatever you're drawn to and whichever one is really resonating with you at the time. And I do say to change up your mantra if you feel like it, but try to maintain one mantra for at least a little bit of time, like a week minimum, I would say. And that again is just to kind of cement it in our brain. So it's like school, you know, like you start with the one mantra, you get it in there, you make sure it's cemented and that you'll remember it and that your soul is like aligned with that mantra, and then you can graduate to another one and start cementing that mantra into you. If you switch up your mantra every day, I'm sure you're getting benefits from that, but I've found that when you stick with one for a little bit of time, it really sinks in and you really start to believe it. And if you're just switching it up constantly every day, that might make it a little bit harder to believe, and I think a little bit harder to stick to having a daily mantra, because you're just like, well, none of these are working, but you're not really giving it a chance to work. So choose one, choose whichever one is resonating with you the most right now, and try to just stick with it for about a week. Write it on your mirror, you know, on a sticky on your mirror or just on your mirror. Write it on your phone, make it your wallpaper. Obviously, you don't have to select one from this list. If there's another mantra that you're loving right now or that you saw on Pinterest or Instagram, feel free to use that. But I did just want to provide some, you know, while you're in the template, here's a few of my favorite things. So once you've selected your mantra, you're just going to want to, again, write that down. Write it down, cement it into your brain, into your consciousness and subconsciousness, so that it really sinks in there. And hopefully this practice will get you back on your feet, help you keep your chin up and keep the faith, and it's not going to happen overnight. And again, I think that's why I added in, you know, keeping that mantra for a week. Give yourself time to sink into this. Give yourself time to really process these responses, process these prompts, and understand why you're doing what you're doing. And then with that and the mantra, you know, one day it's just going to click. One day you're going to wake up and just feel better and maybe feel ready to challenge yourself again and push yourself a little bit farther. But I think rest is so important, especially if you're struggling right now. giving yourself permission to rest can be so healing. And you're not losing anything. I know it feels like you are, and at this point I'm just talking to myself, but I know it feels like you are when you go through a day and you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't work out. I didn't do anything that was on my list of things to do. I just bummed around." That is fine. You have permission to do that. And more than permission, you should do that. That is a recommendation to have off days. If you're working out every single day, you might be seeing gains or whatever they call it, but eventually you will hurt yourself. You will come to some sort of full stop where the universe is like, you need to slow down. You need to chill. And you never want to get to that spot because it's usually detrimental and then it does really set you back. So if you give yourself permission to have these little dips and to try to just not make it any deeper, so you can bounce back, but having those few days or a couple weeks to just relax a little bit, I think will go such a long way in the long run of achieving your goals, because we're not here for short-term resolutions. We're not here for the typical New Year's resolutions. We're here for life-changing goals. So if that is what you're trying to do, hopefully this practice will be helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if this template is helpful for you or any other ways that you motivate yourself when you're having a little bit of a hard time or you're having one of those dips. How do you motivate yourself? And we can share with each other and learn from each other. But anyway, like and subscribe if you liked this video for more content on your goals and just general well-being and your health, mental, physical, emotional, all the things. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying to do with this channel. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, be kind to yourselves and take time for yourselves, and I'll see you next week.